Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Asmat Gurubhyo Namaha. श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः श्री मेधा दक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः। ओम सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम। Namaste, all of you once again.
Namaste.
Hari Om, Hari Om. So we are just seeing some introductory topics relating to Vedanta, general topics, 2-3 topics, which I believe is very important to bear in mind when we go through the Tattva Bodha text. Because at that time I don't need to repeat all these things. And in that, in the last class, we saw the 4 Purusharthas. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Dharma is normally put in the first because it makes a good Dharmartha, Kama, Moksha. It makes a very good phrase rather. For other reasons are also there. We did not go into that. So the 4 Purusharthas, 4 goals of human life we saw. And the entire scriptural teaching that we have in our culture, in our religion, is all meant only to give us the roadmap to achieve all the 4 Purusharthas. Yeah. So, an understanding, at least at a very basic level, of our scriptures becomes necessary. And if you ask everybody, according to some informal survey, most people don't know much about our scriptures. Some may know. You ask what is Vedas, they will say Rig, Yajur, Sama, Atharvana. Why they are Rig, Yajur, Sama, Atharvana, they won't know. They won't know the connection between Ramayana, Mahabharata and the Vedas. So it's all sort of a disjointed kind of some information here, some there and all that. And many of us will call ourselves Vaidikas and still know nothing about our scriptures. So I thought that, when we, all Vedanta is the end of Vedas. Before we go to the end, at least the front portion, something let us understand. That was the purpose of these talks. The 2-3 talks we will do. As I told you, today we will deal with the scheme of our Shastra, the scriptures. And in the next class, we will do the Varnashrama Dharma, which is a very, very important topic. Probably it may take more than one class. And then we will go into the Tattva Bodha proper text, and it has got its own background material. We will deal with all that. So, these scriptures, our entire scriptural literature is so vast. Unlike other cultures, other religions, here it is so vast that right from a KG or a nursery student Up to PhD, postdoctoral level material is available. You can pursue spirituality at any level, rather. That is the vastness of our scriptures. It is said that once somebody actually came to Swami Chinmayananda and asked him that other religions have got one book, Christianity have got one Bible, small book, which we find in all hotel rooms also many times. Then Islam has got one book which is called Quran. Is there one book in Hinduism? This was the question asked to Swami Chinmayananda. He said, we don't have one book. We have got a whole library, huge library we have got. And choice is yours. You can enter the library and whichever book you want, you can take and start reading. Message is all the same, but in different forms, these messages are conveyed. And all the scriptural literature is in Sanskrit language. And everything is relevant for Vedanta, right? So, because there are so many things that we talk about in our religion. For example, the concept of Punya Papa, the concept of Swarga, the concept of karma in the sense karma phala, this Punya Papa. All these things and so many other things. The only means of our knowledge is our scriptures. All these things we cannot know from anywhere else. These are all things which cannot be observed or seen or experienced by any of our five senses. So the scriptures, they become very, very important source for this all this knowledge rather. And this knowledge is what all our religion is all about. Because the law of karma, as I told you, is the backbone of our entire religion. We need to understand that law of karma. So, when we refer to Shastram, the word Shastram conveys that which commands and also that which teaches. It commands in the initial stages and it teaches in the later stages. That's why Adi Shankara compares this Shastram to a mother. A mother also does the same thing with the child, isn't it? First, she will command. She will say, do this, do that. Don't ask questions. When I'm telling you, do it. This is what she will first say, small child. But when the child grows up, she will slowly start teaching the child why the child should do certain things that has been asked to do. So similarly, in the Shastram also, initially there is a command, do this, don't do this. There are the injunctions, do's and don'ts. Then later on, as one matures in the study of the Shastram, the Shastram starts teaching. So the word Shastram means both command as well as teaching. Okay. And this vast scriptural literature normally is presented in four levels, but I will present it in six levels because there are two more levels which I feel were very, 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 very important levels. And the first and foremost, as I said, is the Vedic literature, the Vedas. We call them generally Vedas, right? And they themselves are very, very vast literature. It's said that there are more than 20,000 odd mantras. Rather. So nobody has counted. I don't know how many mantras are there myself. It's a very vast literature. And the word mantra is used only for Vedic compositions. Bhagavad Gita, we will not use the word mantra, we will say shloka. So there are vast literature of these mantras are available. Because mantra, the word itself means that which is useful for making an inquiry, analysis, and assimilation. Mananat trayate iti mantra. So they are meant for mananam. Mananam means what? Inquiry. Inquiry into the truth, taking the Vedic literature as the primary source, then applying some amount of logic to that, and comparing that with our own experience, anubhava. All this analysis you can do with the Vedic mantras. That is why they are called mantras. Right? So, trayate means that which saves, that which protects. So, through the process of making inquiry into which we will get protection and we will be saved is called a mantra. This is how you have to understand the word mantra. Okay. And Vedic mantras are the only one which are called as mantras rather. And according to our tradition, these mantras, even mere repetition of it, even when you don't go into the analysis, mere repetition is also very, very useful, very, very helpful, and very, very beneficial. And these mantras are also useful for meditation purposes. You can meditate on a particular mantra. So all these benefits are there for mantra. And the very word Veda means a source of knowledge. It is derived from the Sanskrit root vid. Vid means to know. So Veda means may you know, or the knowledge. That's called Veda. The mine of information. Or you can call it a treasure of knowledge also. And in our tradition, these Vedas are looked upon as something which has been given to us by the Lord. It is not man-made. Nobody has written the Vedas. The Vedas were really revealed to the humanity by the Lord at the beginning of the creation. And these revelations were in the form of sounds. And those sounds were captured by rishis, because the rishis, due to their tapas and their accomplishments, they had the special equipment to capture these sounds of these Vedas and then pass it on to the humanity. It is something like the television channels that we have these days. Earlier days we had the radios. Right? It is not that when we are watching the television, the telecast is being made. It is already been telecast. Then we have a receiver, the antenna and all. We receive it and then it is given. So the Veda mantras are always there in the atmosphere. It is not that they don't disappear. They are there in the sound form. And the rishis of yore, beginning of the creation, those rishis, they captured these mantras through their power and gave it to the humanity. And that is how we have got the Vedas today. But for those rishis, we would not have these Vedas. That is why every day when we do the Madhyanam, that is the afternoon prayer, we are supposed to remember the rishis and express our gratitude to them. All the rishis, because they are the ones who have actually given us this entire Vedas. Right. So we must understand one thing: these Vedas are not man-made. So that's why they are called Apaurusheya. Paurusheya means made by a Purusha, a man or a human being. Apaurusheya means not man-made. They are divine, given by Lord himself. And Bhagavan Krishna also says the same thing. In fact, Bhagavan Krishna in the 4th chapter, he tells Arjuna, I was the one who taught all these Vedas to the sun god itself, to Surya Bhagavan, Vivaswan. So we have certain, evidence as to how Vedas, why we believe Vedas were given by the Lord himself. And one important feature of that understanding is whatever Lord gives, there won't be any mistake. Secondly, whatever the Lord gives, he is a Karuna Murti, it will be for the benefit of the humankind only. So that is why the Vedas are held at the highest esteem in our culture. And they are the source of all knowledge, all scriptural knowledge that we have got. In fact, even non-scriptural knowledge, in the sense that Vedas have got 6 angas rather, Vyakaranam, Nirukti, all that angas are there. Jyotisham is one of the angas. Even those kind of shastras, all are part of the Vedas only. So that is why it's a divine thing, and we must strongly believe in that, and that is why we give a lot of importance to the Vedic mantras. Rather. And everybody in our culture is supposed to learn the Veda mantras. It's a different thing. These days, nobody learns it. But there was a time when everybody was learning this, going to the Gurukulam and learning the mantras, everything. That was there. There was a time. So they are not human composition. So if you want to ask who is the author of Vedas, they say God is the author of Vedas. He is the author. So this is the first point we have to understand. So we can place full reliance on what Vedas want to convey. And as I said, he revealed these Vedas to the rishis, and they were the intermediaries, and the rishis then acted as a pipeline, and through whom we have received the mantras. That in many Veda mantras, the names of the rishis we can find. Many mantras we can't find the name of the rishi also. We just know that these rishis were there. So, as I said, they had the extraordinary power to receive this, and which we don't have, unfortunately, or fortunately. Right. So they were all transmitted in Shabda Rupa, in the form of sounds only. They were not written. And for a very, very long time, these Vedas actually existed in the form of sounds only. Even today also, they are actually sounds only. They exist in the form of sounds only. But since in the Kali Yuga, the intellect of the human being has lost so much of its power which it had earlier, that an additional help or support is required in the form of written words. If you go to a patashala, no child will be given a book to recite the mantras. The child will hear the mantras from the guru and it will repeat. And the guru will have a long stick in his hand, which will be reachable to all the children sitting there in front of him. And if any child is actually chanting a mantra wrongly, that stick will be hit on the bald head of the child. That is how the teaching happens in patashalas. Right? It used to happen like that in our days also, younger days. These days, if you touch a child, you have a case against you, criminal case against you, isn't it? Anyhow, things have changed, times have changed. So after the printing mechanism came into being, these Veda mantras have also been started. They started printing the Veda mantras. And one beauty of the Veda mantras is they can be memorized because of the swara in notations which is given. The swaras are given in the Vedas mainly for the purposes of ability to memorize them. That's why you find many of these priests and all memorizing thousands and thousands of mantras. For a whole week, 10 days, 15 days, they can go on chanting. So many different mantras. So that is about the Veda mantras, right? So it was orally transmitted from the guru to Shishya. The Shishya becomes a guru, and then it's called a Karna Parampara. Karna means hearing. Right? Karna Parampara means by hearing only it was transmitted from generation to generation. And this Veda to begin with was a single body of knowledge. The whole Veda was one body of knowledge. Then what happened towards the end of Dwapara Yuga, which is the previous Yuga than Kali Yuga? Vedavyasa, who was also a very accomplished rishi, felt that in the Kali Yuga, people will not have the capacity to memorize all these Vedas. So we must do something to preserve these Vedas through this Kali Yuga. Even though the Kali Lakshana is that toward as the Kali progresses, all these things will lose its value, lose its importance. People will stop following all these things, which I told you in the last class, I think, isn't it? Kalau Kalmasha Chitta Nam, that shloka I explained. So, or I don't know, I did it probably in Vishnu Sahasranam class. Too many classes, confusion, where what you talk, you don't know. Anyhow, in Kali Yuga, this will happen. So, at least in order to make an attempt to preserve these Vedas, he took the entire thing, Veda Vyasa, and divided them into 4 parts. 3 parts, not 4. 3 parts he divided. Rig, Yaju, and Sama Veda. These were the first 3 Vedas. What he did was, because the Veda mantras contain 3 types of mantras. Mantras which were in poetic form, mantras which were in prose form, and mantras which were in music form, set to some slight music, melodious mantras. So what he did, all the mantras which were there in poetry form, he took them and made them, compiled them into one body of knowledge, called them Rig Veda. Then all the mantras which were there in prose form, he collected them, compiled them, and called it Yajur Veda. Then all the mantras which were in set to some music, he collected them and called them Sama Veda. So this is how he actually created these 3 Vedas. Not only that, he subdivided those Vedas, each of these Vedas, into branches called Shakas. And then to each family who were existing at that time, he gave one Shaka to preserve. The responsibility of that family was to learn that particular Shaka and pass it on generation after generation after generation. Minimum. They can learn other things also if they want, but this was the minimum assigned to the families. So, like that, lot of families were involved and they were given the responsibility to maintain these Vedas, to pass it on to generation, including Kali Yuga when it came. Then there were some set of mantras which were not part of all these 3. You can call it a miscellaneous mantra, but they were also very, very important mantras, part of Veda mantras. Those mantras were compiled by 2 rishis called Atharva Rishi and Angirasa Rishi. These 2 rishis compiled them, and so they gave them the name Atharvana Veda. That is how we have the 4th Veda, Atharvana Veda. So this is the background, how we have got 4 Vedas, how originally there was only one Veda, one body of knowledge, right? And this is the primary source of all our scriptural knowledge, as I told you. And these Vedas are also called Shruti. Shruti means that which is heard. Because it was a Karna Parampara, it was passed on by, only by hearing, rather. By in the sound form, not in written form, not Hasta Parampara. Not, it was Karna Parampara. They were also called Shruti. So Veda, Shruti all mean the same thing. Okay. And there was another classification which is done for the Vedas. And that is a classification into 2 forms, two parts. One part is called the Purva Bhaga, which is called Karma Kanda. And another part is called the Uttara Bhaga, which is called Jnana Kanda. In fact, almost 80% of the Veda mantras are all in Karma Kanda only, in the first part. Only about 20% are in Jnana Kanda, which is called Vedanta, which is called Upanishads also. It's only consisting of about 20%, which comes at the end of each Veda. And this Karma Kanda, as I said, is the maximum portion. Now, this division is based upon what? As we discussed in the last class, the four Purusharthas are there: Artha, Kama, Dharma. Three Purusharthas we saw, which we called prayas, right? If you remember that word. Then Moksha Purushartha is called prayas. Sorry, Shreyas. So this is prayas and that is Shreyas. And I told you also that the whole purpose of the Shastra or the Vedic literature or the Vedic scriptures is to take you from this Karma Kanda, from this Artha, Kama, Dharma, Purusharthas to Moksha Purushartha. And very briefly, I told you Moksha Purushartha is all about understanding, knowing the limitations of this Artha, Kama, Dharma, Purushartha in giving me liberation and freedom. And that can be got only by Moksha Purushartha in the Jnana Kanda. So what happens is, for you, but then the Shastras recognize the fact that for every human being, this Artha, Kama, Dharma and Moksha all are equally important. Shastras don't say that don't indulge in all this material thing and all that. Material thing is very much required. In fact, when we see the next class, the Varna Ashrama Dharma, how that structure helps everybody to achieve whatever they want to achieve. I'll explain that. So materialistic, goals are not frowned upon by Shastra at all. All that it says is that enjoy your life, but at some stage understand the limitation of these materialistic goals. Because if you are striving for liberation from this entire samsara, you are striving for getting rid of this rebirth, then you must understand Moksha Purushartha, you must come to the knowledge part of the Vedanta, not the karma part. So 80% of the Veda mantras are focused on giving us the knowledge how to achieve the goals of the first three Purushartha. And that is what we spend most of our lives in. And that is what is recognized by the Vedas also. They actually give you all the mantras doing different homas, yajnas, everything, it's all contained in the Karma Kanda. Jnana Kanda is all about Vedanta, which is what our topic of discussion is, our topic of learning is. And that contains, as I said, Upanishads, rather, where very profound knowledge, which you don't find anywhere else, is found in those Upanishads, rather. And that is what will lead us to the Moksha Purushartha, right? So this is the first layer. Very briefly, I'm not going to too many details, rather. It's the first layer. The second layer is what we call a sutra literature. This sutra means a very cryptic statement. In English, there is a word called aphorism. I don't know how many of us can understand the word aphorism, meaning of that word. But sutra is a very cryptic literature. Because what happened is these Veda mantras, they were so huge, vast. So many ideas were there. They were all strewn all over the place. Rather, they were not indexed or had a particular way. Okay, this thing all will be contained in this particular chapter. Nothing was there. They were all strewn all over. So what happened was many rishis, acharyas in the parampara, they took up, classifying this entire Veda mantras into different topics, which are relevant for different stages in life for a human being. So they brought out this sutra literature. So sutra literature are very, very pithy statements, cryptic statements, which we if we read it, we won't understand anything. We will require somebody to decipher those statements and then put it in the context and explain everything. But those days that was probably not required because people already were very knowledgeable. So the Sutra literature is the second literature, which is nothing but the same knowledge which is contained in the Vedas, but organized little more in terms of the topics and also in terms of the what I can say classification and also clarification. Because some Veda mantras may not be very clear in terms of understanding. The Sutra literature comes in and clarifies some of those tricky parts of the Vedas, right? So it codifies and also clarifies the Veda mantras. So this is the second layer, rearranging the topics, rearranging the Veda mantras topic wise in Sutra form. So we have got lot of sutras. Sutra basically means a thread. Since they string the Veda mantras like a garland, they are called sutras. Because the same topic is there, and the sutras string them together. That's why they call sutras. That's a literal meaning. Like we have a jasmine garland, rose garland, and all. Same roses are there in one garland. We have got kadamam also mixed one. That's a different thing. So all these sutras literature are there. And there are a number of sutra granthas. They are called Dharma Sutrani, which deals with the individual values, individual growth. Then we have got Grihya Sutrani, where family values and family responsibilities, etc., are dealt with. Then Shrauta Sutrani is there, where the bigger activities meant for the welfare of the society is talked about. Like for example, there is no rain, so they do one big yaga for the rains, right? They are all contained in the Srauta Sutras. How to do the yaga, in what manner, what mantras to be used, and all, they are contained in the Srauta Sutras. Rather. So it takes care of both individual progress as well as the society's requirements. Rather, the sutra literature, and it is again very vast literature. The sutras, there are Gautama Sutras, Abhastamba Sutrani, then there are Parashara Sutra. It's like that. So many rishis have written so many sutras, right? So this is the sutra literature. Then third comes the Smriti literature. So Vedas were one concentration form, having lot of mantras and different ideas, different purposes, all mixed up. So Sutra literature is the first attempt to codify the Veda mantras into some sort of a understandable or relatable form for us. Then comes as I said, the Smriti Granthas. Smriti Granthas are still more little diluted form of this Sutra literature. Mind you, I will keep repeating this. The message is all one. That message which is there in the Vedas. The teaching is one. The knowledge is the same, but expressed in different forms of literature. That's all. So when it comes to Smriti Granthas, the word Smriti means remembering, remembered. So these rishis or acharyas, they having learned this Vedic literature, the entire Vedas and also the Sutra literature and all, they now wanted to, because of their compassion towards humanity, felt that even the Sutra literature will be too high for humanity in the coming days to achieve. So let us now make some simpler way. So they came up with this Smriti Granthas. So many Smriti Granthas they wrote. And these Smriti Granthas, they elaborate the Vedic ideas a little more. That's what they do, rather. And for one or two ideas, thousands and thousands of verses are written, rather, isn't it? For just making Arjuna understand to do his duty in the war, Krishna came up with 700 verses in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is one of the leading Smriti Granthas. Why Smriti? Because it was written by Veda Vyasa. Veda Vyasa is one of the main links between the previous, Vedic period and our later today's Vedic period. Without Veda Vyasa, we won't be having this Vedanta talk at all. Thanks to Veda Vyasa, we got all that knowledge, and some of the teachers who have come in the Sampradaya, in the Parampara, they have taught us, and then we are able to pass it on to others. So we must actually, that's why Guru Purnima is always celebrated remembering Veda Vyasa. He is the greatest Guru we have got in the first Guru is Bhagavan Krishna. Next Guru we know is Veda Vyasa. There are so many other Gurus, of course, all of them are good. But who has actually done a human service for this Vedas and humanity is Veda Vyasa. So this is a Smriti Grantha, and there are Manu Smriti, as I told, Yagyavalkya Smriti. There are so many Smriti, Parashara Smriti, and all that. So many Smritis are there. Again, Smriti Granthas also follow the same Sutra style. They are also, composed keeping in mind certain topics and certain codification of certain ideas. But the mantra form is not used, the sloka form is used. Because that is what we can relate more to. Bhagavad Gita, for example, has borrowed lot of mantras from various Upanishads. If we read the Upanishads, it will be difficult for us to understand what is said there. But if you read Bhagavad Gita, it will be much more easier. So just giving you an example, how it is little more diluted and more user friendly, as I called it, so that we can read the Bhagavad Gita, relate to what is being said, and we can also have our goals of life met through all these teachings, right? So this is the Smriti Granthas, which we are familiar with. So many Smritis are there, as I told you. The fourth level of literature is what is called Puranas. Puranas again are containing the same message of the Vedas. But now what has happened is Vedavyasa realized that even though the Smriti Granthas are available, they will not be able to capture the attention of the people in the Kali Yuga. Because in the Kali Yuga, people want what? Ask 90% of the people, they want entertainment. You ask anybody, they will even not do anything else. If there is a TV program, serial, that they will not miss. Isn't it? So this was foreseen by Vedavyasa. Of course, he did not probably foresee the advent of TV and all that, but let us just say maybe he did. And he wrote all these Puranas so that they can be converted into TV serials. And that's what we are seeing. So many Puranic stories and all that in the TV serials. So Vedavyasa wrote Puranas. Puranas, where the Vedic ideas combined with lot of stories. They were the Puranas rather. And 18 Puranas he wrote. Another 18 Upapuranas he wrote. Totally 36 Puranas are there. And these Puranas, these stories, some of them may be factual, but there is a lot of imagination added to that to make it very attractive, very entertaining. And as we all know, one of the most popular Purana is the Bhagavata Purana. It's very popular. Talks about lot of, right from childhood, Lord Krishna's activities, how he stole the what is that butter, how he played with the gopikas, how he made a fool of the other people, that beautiful songs are also there, isn't it? Those who know a little bit of music will know all those songs rather. So these Puranas, they further diluted the format in which the Vedic teaching is presented, and then these Puranas were given, and they were also very vast literature is there. So many Skanda Purana, Shiva Purana, so many Puranas are there. I mean, you can, on each of the Devatas, you have a Purana. So this is the Puranic literature, which was the fourth level of the message percolating down to the human beings. Message of the Vedas percolating down to the human beings. And this Purana, the word Purana itself, is a very interesting word. It is derived from Pura Api Nava. It is old, but all at the same time it is new also. What it means, even though these are all old messages, it is very relevant even for the current generation. Pura Api Nava is the the Vigraha Vakya for the word Purana. That's how we get the word Purana. And many times these Puranas also pick up one or two ideas from Veda mantras, and then there'll be one full Purana will be there. For example, we have got one Veda mantra, Satyam Vada, Taittiriya Upanishad. This word is the Satyam Vada. Speak the truth. Two words. One whole Harishchandra Purana is written on that two words. Importance of speaking the truth. If you don't speak the truth, what will happen? But there is a degree of exaggeration in order to push the message, push the importance of that message, that Satyam should be followed always. So, like that, we can go on talking about a lot of examples of these Puranas rather. Sorry. So, what happens is, as we go down, Veda mantras, you can see they're abstract ideas are there. Then, as we go down, more and more this abstraction goes away, and what is we see more concretized messages coming across. Things are made in Purana, they are made audio visual, right? So you can actually enjoy they're very good for television medium and all that rather. So as I said, 36 Puranas Vyasacharya has written, and these are a brief introduction to Puranas. Then the fifth layer we come to Itihasa. Itihasa basically means history. History based literature. It is not exactly history. We must understand the difference. Iti ha asa. Iti means in this manner. Ha means indeed or doubtlessly. Asa means it occurred or happened. So, as in the case of Puranas, in Itihasa also, many of the events which are depicted are actual events. But some degree of what we can call a poetic liberty has been taken by the writers to add some, glamour to that, to the stories rather. So when we study the Itihasas, we must understand what is the message of the Vedas, what is the central message, and what are the additional, what you call ornamentation things, which are done. That is there. For example, Ramayana, which is one of the Itihasas. In fact, we consider two main epics are Itihasas, Ramayana and Mahabharata. Ramayana, it is said Ravana has 10 heads. Now, can you imagine anybody with 10 heads? Have you ever seen anybody with 10 heads? And in that entire yuga, the only person who had 10 heads was Ravana. Nobody else had 10 heads. Ravana's children also did not have 10 heads. So then question can arise, how can Ravana have 10 heads? That's why a lot of people, without understanding all this, start criticizing these scriptures. They don't understand what they are conveying. They are very subtle points which are being conveyed. And only with person with a very subtle intellect can understand all that. A person who is have a very low level of intellect, almost equivalent to animals, will not be able to understand any of these things. The 10 heads of Ravana, they are representing the 10 different qualities of Ravana. This you have to understand. But to a child, you cannot explain these qualities, kama, krodha, and it was a bhakta, everything, you cannot understand. So they portray it like 10 heads of Ravana, like that. Because then the child will ask, how can 10 heads balance? There will be 5 on one side, 5 on another side. So 11 is a balance, 9 is a balance, 10 how he will balance? So he will be tilting always to one side and all that questions will come. So we have to understand that these itihasas are a layer where some amount of subtle messages, some degree of some imagination to add some story value to it, some entertainment value to it is applied. For example, we all know this Titanic movie. The core story of the movie is true. What happened? But what all is shown in the 3 hour movie or 2 hour movie, do you think that all that happened in the Titanic ship? No. The main thing happened, sinking and all that. But the way they show the other things and all to entertain you and me so that we can go and see the Titanic movie. We don't know whether all those things happened or not. Maybe some of those happened, and just imagine the time. They show it in the modern times and all that, all the dance and things like that and all. Some love stories, you know, put into that. So, like that, this itihasas also we must understand that not 100% true, but mostly they are based on historical events. The Mahabharata, Ramayana, they are based mostly on historical events, and there are evidences for that historical events also in the scriptures, in the Ramayana, Mahabharata scriptures themselves. Similarly, Mahabharata is the story of the kings of the Bharata Vamsha, the lineage of the Bharata kings rather, who belong to that Bharata Vamsha. So Mahabharata means what? Mahabharata means a vast or great. Maha means great, and Bharata means belonging to the Bharata Vamsha. So it's a story of the kings who belong to the Bharata Vamsha, and it starts from somewhere and then traces their own Mahabharata. As I told, there are 1 lakh. It said so 1 lakh verses are there in the Mahabharata, right? Very huge work Veda Vyasa has done, and you find Bhagavad Gita, everything, Vishnu Sahasranama, everything in that Mahabharata. That is the beauty of this Mahabharata. So they are all facts mixed with little bit of fiction. That is what these the itihasas are, right? And then comes the last layer, the sixth layer, which is we call it Bhashya literature, and which is very relevant for people who are Vedantins or who are learning Vedanta. This sixth layer is very, very important because this Bhashya literature is there for both the Karma Kanda as well as the Jnana Kanda. In fact, Sutra literature is also there for both. There's Jaimini Sutras for Karma Kanda and then Brahma Sutra for Jnana Kanda. Jaimini Sutra written by Jaimini Rishi and this Brahma Sutra written by Veda Vyasa. They are there. So similarly, this Bhashyam also, there are Bhashyams for Veda Mantras, different topics covered in the Veda Mantras, and there are Bhashyams also for all the Upanishads and all that. And one of the most important person who wrote all these bhashyams, which are very prevalent today and which most of the people who are followers of Advaita Vedanta follow, is the bhashyams or commentaries of Adi Shankaracharya. Adi Shankaracharya, in the about 7th century or something, he actually done fantastic work, because without this bhashyam literature, which is actually uses a prose form to explain all the mantras. In fact, another feature of these Veda mantras, especially the Upanishads, you will find that many statements are contradictory. It will say that Brahma is Anoraniyan Mahato Mahiyan. Brahman is smaller than the smallest and bigger than the biggest. Now, what do you make out of it? How can anything be smaller than the smallest and bigger than the biggest? Such contradictory statements you will come across in Upanishads, which we will not be able to decipher, understand without the commentaries, without the Bhashya. Very, very important. That is why we study all the Upanishads with the help of Bhashyas, the Bhashyams only. So this Bhashya literature is the sixth layer, which are in the form of commentaries, and where each word of the mantra or of the Upanishad mantra or the Veda mantra, the Bhashya writer will take up. He will explain that word. Many times you will not find that word in Sanskrit dictionaries, because dictionaries, they are more colloquial in their approach. They want to focus only on what is being used today, not in Veda mantras. You will not find those words in Sanskrit dictionaries. But these people who write the commentaries will explain that word in a language, Sanskrit only, but using words which we can relate more. And also in the Bhashyam literature, they will clarify, untie all the contradictory things which are seemingly contradictory things said in the Veda mantras. Without that Bhashyam, we will not have any teaching at all. Today, if my gurus have taught me and they have learned from their gurus and all, it is all thanks to Adi Shankaracharya, whose Bhashyam we have studied, and then we know what these mantras actually mean. And when we teach others, that is the basis we use. The Bhashyam, as interpreted by Shankaracharya, as explained to us by our gurus in English also, we use those words and then teach other people. So this is the Bhashyam literature, which is the sixth layer, and which is a very, very important source for our understanding the Veda mantras. So these are the six layers of the entire scriptures. I have been very brief about it. One can keep on talking more and more features of these layers. The most important point we have to remember is that all these layers which we talk about, they are all emanating, or the prime source is the Veda mantras, which are divine, which are given by the Lord Paramatma, Parameshwara himself. So they don't suffer from the fallibilities or the mistakes or errors or imagination of human beings. The moment you give anything to human being, he will use his imagination and change its entire structure, rather, isn't it? So the Veda mantras, since they are divine, they cannot change, and that's why I told in the Sanskrit class, one language which has not undergone any change in thousands and thousands and thousands of years that it has existed is the Sanskrit language. That Sanskrit language was used in the Veda mantras. The same Sanskrit language is what we study today. If you take any other language, you take even Tamil rather, 3000 years ago, what Tamil they were speaking and writing, it is not the Tamil that they speak and write today. In fact, if you bring all those old classics, Tamil classics to the people who know Tamil, they won't be able to understand anything. Tirukural also, for us to explain, we need somebody to explain Tirukural to us. The Tamil which in Tirukural is no longer in practice. Whereas Sanskrit is one language which has remained the same. The grammar which is there in Veda Mantra, the same grammar is there today also. It has not changed at all. The way we used to pronounce the words in the Veda Mantra, the same way we pronounce the words even today in conversation. So, like the Veda Mantras are eternal, the Sanskrit language also is eternal. That's another beauty we have to appreciate in our culture. The only culture having this eternal, even Latin, Greek, and all have vanished. So many things have vanished. Sanskrit has not vanished. So, these are the 6 layers. And the Bhashyakaras, they unlock the Vedic mantras and the messages through a key which is called Sampradaya. That's a particular way to actually unfold the message of Vedas, which is what is taught by our gurus, because they have learned that from their gurus. So it is not a literal translation. It has to be, the Vedic messages have to be unfolded, revealed, so that we can understand with our level of intellect. So this is these are the 6 layers of our literature. As I said, very briefly I have dealt with. In fact, earlier class in the introduction, that the Vedanta basics class, I think I took 2 classes to explain this. Today I have tried to make it condensed into 1 class. Wherever possible, I will do that. So, question is, solve very well. What is the use of knowing all these things? Isn't it? A natural question, very obvious question. Answer to that I will give you in the next class. Okay. So we will stop here. I'll say the prayers, and if anybody has got any other question other than this, you can ask. Okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Guruji. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Guruji, I have one question to ask.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mama. Namaskaram.
Hari Om.
The difference between mantra and shloka. For example, when we recite something at home, are we reciting mantras or are we reciting shlokas?
Depending upon what you are reciting. If you are reciting from the Vedas, it is a mantra.
For example, let us say Sandhya Vandanam.
Mantra.
They are mantras.
Sandhya
Okay.
Mantra. Vishnu Sahasranamam Shloka.
Shloka. Okay. And in the case of Bhagavad Gita, they are all shlokas?
Shlokas.
Okay.
See, I'll give you an example. In Kathopanishad, there is a mantra, if I remember right. Udvamulamadash Ashwattam Prahuravyayam. Then Chandam Siyas. No, that is the Bhagavad Gita. I have to remember it. See, the same mantra, it has been taken in shloka form in the Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter. It starts with that Udvamulamadash. So when we are relating it to the Kathopanishad, it is a mantra. And when it is a shloka, it is in Bhagavad Gita. As I said, these are all, we just need to become mantras. We have to be very, very careful. In shloka chanting, if you commit a mistake, that's not a crime. Whereas when you chant the mantras, you have to, number one, remember chanting the mantras with their swaras.
Swaras, okay.
If you mistake in the swaras, the meaning of the mantra may change. Because the swaras, they actually do 2 things. One is they give a particular meaning to a mantra, and number two,
Okay.
it makes it easier to memorize, right? So
Okay.
if you change the swara of a mantra, then the meaning will change, or at least it is a mistake. Another thing I will tell you, one more feature. I mean, that's why I said if I go on talking, there's so many features we can talk. A mantra you will find in Rig Veda with a particular set of swaras. Same mantra you will find in Yajur Veda with different set of swaras. So when you are chanting Rig Veda, you have to use the Rig Veda swaras. When you are chanting Yajur Veda, you have to use the Yajur Veda swaras. You have to be very, very careful with that. So mantra chanting is a very, very, perfect way of doing it. That's why mantras and all you should not learn on your own. You must have a guru,
Guru to learn.
sampradaya, and you must not learn it on television, internet, and all. I don't teach Veda mantras on internet. I was teaching Veda mantras in Nana Nani for about a year to some people. I completed few suktams and rudram and all that. But they requested me to continue to teach in internet. I said I won't do it, because in the internet I cannot hear what they are saying properly, and if I can't hear, I can't correct them, and if they learn it wrongly, I can guarantee you they will never be able to correct it.
Understood.
That is why mantras are we treat it with lot of respect. We don't touch the mantras very very easily. Shlokas, it's okay. Vishnu Sahasranamam, you can lie down on the bed also and you can say Vishnu Sahasranam. No problem. Mantras and all, take bath, you must be clean, and then only the Veda mantras have to be chanted. You cannot chant Veda mantras anywhere. Those rules are all not being followed here, unfortunately. People wear shoes and all and chant Veda mantras.
No, times, owing to lack of time, when we travel, we keep reciting Gayatri mantra.
That is true. The people do it. Gayatri mantra, why chanting lack of time? Gayatri mantra is supposed to be a meditation mantra. You are supposed to meditate on Gayatri. That's what we do in Sandhya Vandanam. When we do 108 Gayatri, what do? We meditate on Gayatri. That's a meditation mantra. Sandhya Vandanam is a full package for a human being. It has got physical exercise.
Yes.
As I said, Kayikam, Vachikam, Manasam, all three are involved in Sandhya Vandanam. In fact, if you do Sandhya Vandanam properly 3 times a day, you don't need to do anything else. No yoga, nothing is required. Everything comes in Sandhya Vandanam. And if you must, of course, take care of your food habits and all that. Sattvic life, if you lead, you don't need anything else. On the one side, we lead a Rajasic life and a Tamasic life, and then we want to put Sattva Guna also in that, we get
No, we have become a little confused society now.
That is because nobody has taught us. I won't blame anybody. Because this teaching has gone totally out of the way, and then nobody is teaching all that. And some people who have developed some interest try to learn these things and try to follow all those things. That's all. And once you see a value in something, you certainly will adopt it. As Puja Swamiji says, one must first see the value in the values. Then only you will take the value as a value. Otherwise, you will neglect that value. So,
absolutely,
value in the values we should see. Values in all these practices we should see. Once we understand, we will do automatically. And that is what is the road to liberation, road to moksha. Okay, one can go on talking a lot about this. I mean, so
yes, absolutely correct.
Difference between mantra and shloka.
Shloka.
And yeah, because mantra is meant for, as it is manana trayate, it is meant for mananam, it is meant for meditation, contemplation.
Meditation.
Yeah, mantras are meant for that. So that is the difference basically. Any other question?
That's all. Thank you.
Welcome.
I have one question.
Yeah.
I have one question, Raghuji. This is relative to what you're talking about Vedic mantras. I teach Purna Vidya because, by program of Swami Dayananda, there's a group who has gone through the Veda Adhyayana. He teaches. but because of the pandemic, we can't have classes in the USA is the most affected, there is a rule, but the part of the curriculum, the teacher has to teach even Veda mantras. We don't teach. There's one teacher I have appointed who has gone through systematic Vedic study in Padashala back in India. But now he's teaching the mantras. There is no choice. So do we skip that entire? So what are your thoughts on that? I thought I will ask you.
Very controversial question.
Okay.
Because you have to take certain views. The one is a traditional view, one is a modern view, right? For example,
okay,
Veda mantras
okay.
are not supposed to be taught to anybody who has not been initiated into the Veda mantras.
Okay.
So if somebody has not gone through the Upanayana Samskara, which is what the initiation into Veda, Brahmopatesham, you cannot learn Veda mantras. But then these days everybody is learning Veda mantras.
No, but Raghuji, but it is Swamiji's syllabus. It's a part of the program. That is Swami Dayananda Saraswati. That's what I'm saying.
That is exactly what I'm saying. Before Swami Dayananda Saraswati, Satya Sai Baba was teaching all these things. The question is, what is the view you want to take? If you take a traditional view, you should not teach, people should not learn Veda mantras unless they are initiated into the Veda mantras.
Does it say in the Shastra? Can I ask you?
What do you mean by the word Brahmopatesham? Unless you got Upatesham of a mantra, you cannot chant that mantra. You go to so many these sadhus and all that, or even Swamijis and all. They will tell you, I will give you mantropatesham, and then you can meditate or you can chant that mantra. What does that mean? Why do you need a mantropatesham? You must receive it from a guru. Any mantra you must receive from a guru. That is Upatesham. And this Brahmopatesham is a samskara which is specially meant for learning Veda mantras. Okay. That is how we introduce our, our generation to the Veda mantras, to this Brahmopatesha samskara.
I see. I understand. I follow tradition, so that's what it's a real query.
Is why today we cannot ask these questions, because everything has gone haywire. Now, how can I answer? If you ask me traditionally, this is the rule. Now, but everybody is doing, so you also do. So why are you asking me why it is doing? So what are you going to gain by knowing whether it is right or wrong? If I tell you it is wrong, are you going to stop doing it? No. Isn't it?
At least I want
then you will quote Dayananda Swami, you will quote Swami Chinmayananda, you will quote this. So, okay, fine. All those pramanas are there for you. Then the question doesn't arise. But if you go to a traditional priest, who teaches in Veda Padashala, try to go.
He won't teach me.
He won't teach you. He will say, get lost. I won't teach you. First of all. Second thing is.
I know.
Yeah, that is what
I tried. You won't. I understand. I tried to learn from Sanskrit college, Sanskrit college. They won't. I understand. Please, I do understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to tell you is, today's world, we cannot, compare all these things. Today's world, we are in Kali Yuga, we are in the grip of Kali. All these things will be there. We can't do anything about it. As long as you yourself are convinced about a certain thing, you follow it. Period. Dayananda Swami introduced, I'll tell you what, Dayananda Swami introduced, because when you come to Vedanta also, it is necessary that you must have done the Purva Bhaga.
Okay.
Without going through the whole thing, how can you come to Anta? Isn't it?
Okay. So
Chandogya Upanishad,
you're forced to learn.
Yeah, it's a course. The whole Veda is a course. So people just come directly to Vedanta without going through Veda mantras. Now, if we have to put all those rules, there will be no ashram, there won't be any student, nothing will be there. So, in order to preserve in whatever way we can possibly preserve in these circumstances, these concessions, these things have been made.
And compromise.
Compromise, and I can tell you, all compromises, if you follow the law of karma, all compromises will have their own adrishta phalam. That we must understand that very well. So we can't say that everything will be hunky dory. If we are doing something wrong, which is not ordained by the Veda mantras, it will have its own adrishta phalam in form of papam. It will accrue in our account. And all of us at some stage, not necessarily this life, next life, any life, we will have to face the experiences for all those kind of things. So there is no direct answer to this. Many people have asked me, can ladies learn Veda mantras? Ladies are not taught Veda mantras. In fact, they were being taught. In fact,
Thank
the Vedic
you. I
ladies,
appreciate your answer.
they were being taught Veda mantras. But after some time, they can't, purity is one thing, so they can't continuously, every day they can't do Sandhya Vandanam, whereas you are supposed to do Sandhya Vandanam every day. 3 days or 4 days in a month, they can't take bath. So
Yeah.
that's why when they come to the puberty stage, the Veda mantras were stopped for ladies. In
I
fact,
see.
one question you ask any Vadyar in any marriage, a brahmachari wears a thread which has got 3 strands, right?
Yes, yes.
In the marriage, he gets one more set of 3 strands, 6 strands he
6.
gets.
Yes.
Why? What is the significance of that? You ask anybody. Nobody will know this. The significance is, till that marriage, that girl was wearing the 3 strands. After marriage, that she transfers, gives the power of attorney to the boy to do all karmas on her behalf. So that is why the extra 3 the boy gets. And he undertakes that from now onwards, you are freed from all your karma duty. I will do the karma, and all the karma phala, 50% you will get as my wife.
Oh.
You focus on the home, children, and all that. That is your dharma now. I will take care of all the other dharmas, and we will share all the benefits equally. This is what is the meaning of that extra puna which we get. Anybody knows this? So
how about 9 things? How about 9 things?
Thank you.
9 is for Uttariyam. The third one.
Guruji.
Sorry, 1 second. Let me complete.
Mhm.
A grihastha is not supposed to be bare-bodied.
Correct.
He has to wear one cloth, upper cloth. Since many times you will not be able to wear the upper cloth, then one extra set of this thing is given as a Uttariyam. That is why some people wear 9. Not everybody wears 9. Only many people wear 6 only.
Correct.
Yeah, so somebody was asking a question.
Yes, Guruji, I was wondering, would the Lalita Sahasranama or the Srividya tradition that's followed, the women do the prayers to the Divine Mother? Is that according to what you are saying, the permission of the Vedas, or is it?
No.
Does it go contrary?
No, you can't. Devi Mahatmyam, unless you have got Upadesha of Devi Mahatmyam from a person who is a Devi Upasaka, you cannot chant Devi Mahatmyam. First rule. But exception is there. The chapter 5 and chapter 11 of Devi Mahatmyam, which is only the praise of the Devi, you can chant without Upadesha.
No, I was asking about the Srividya Upasaka, a person who has been initiated.
Obviously, Srividya, any Upasana you can do only after you get a Upadesha.
Correct. Yeah.
That is important.
So somebody who
Without
has it
Upadesha,
can do it.
Yeah. If you have got a proper Upadesha, you can do it. There's no problem. No ladies, gents business is not there. Somebody has given you Upadesha. This all I am telling you about, this is all only Veda mantras, because none of the other things are equivalent to Veda mantras.
Okay.
Because other things are all man-made. Veda mantras are only Bhagavan made. That is why it has got its own sanctity there. Okay.
So what is the concept of the Vak Devatas?
Oh my God, we will see all that when we see Tattva Bodha. Otherwise, this class will not end.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience, and thank you for taking the extended time to explain to us.
No problem.
I appreciate it.
A guru is always available for his students, rather. So there is no need to thank and all that. It is my duty.
That's
If
okay.
anybody has got
Gratitude. Take it as a gratitude.
I have to.
Take it as a gratitude.
Honestly speaking, This is, for me, I consider it as my Guru Dakshina to my Gurus. What is the biggest Guru Dakshina a Shishya can give? By spreading what he has learned from the Gurus to others. That is the biggest Guru Dakshina. Do you mean to say the Guru is looking for some few dollars or rupees or, some fruit basket and all? No. Guru is very happy. He will bless you once he knows that what teaching he got from his Gurus, his Shishya is actually propagating that teaching or teaching it to others. That is the biggest Guru Dakshina, and that is what I take it when I am teaching somebody. This is the Guru Dakshina I am offering to my Gurus. So that is how I take it. So there is no, of course, you are not used to thanking and all that is all fine. But the thank also, whatever you give me, Sarvadeva Namaskara Keshavam Prati Gacchati. I will just send it to Lord Keshava. All the thanks will go to Bhagavan.
It's a gratitude for the parampara. No, it's a gratitude for the entire parampara.
Exactly. That's all.
Yes.
That's all.
Namaskara.
We are all small cogs in that. That's all. Okay. Hari Om.
Namaskara.
Okay. Thank you. We'll meet on next Saturday.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Hari Om.